Hello, and welcome to the Context Podcast. This is the show where we review interesting and or captivating stories published by the Namibian newspaper over the past week. My name is John-Colin Namene, and I'm joined by my colleague
Enoke, Kaumba. Glad to be in your company. Oh, always glad to be in your company, John. How was the week for you?
Thanks so much, and I'm glad to be in your company. Actually, the week was okay, man. I mean, it was good but hectic as usual. You know, every day comes with its own struggles. I think the biggest news of the week, though, was that it's officially winter.
Yeah, officially.
And it was accompanied by the month of June. So happy June to you. Wishing you all the best for the month. But I mean, otherwise, how was the week for you, man? What stories did you find interesting for the week?
I mean, definitely, I find all the stories by the Namibian very interesting.
Of course,
we tell it like it is, but
that goes without saying. Yeah.
But you see, it's unfortunate. You know, I have to point out. You know, the big one for me, I think it was Shaligan's story. It's scary one as well. You know, it told us that really winter is here, and winter and then COVID is unfortunate and quite scary news. The government facing a critical shortage of life-saving oxygen at state hospital due to the collapse of the oxygen generating system at health facilities. I think this story got everyone's eye. You look at social media and everywhere. So
yeah, there's a wave of anxiety going on. Because it seems like we have. It seems, and I say it seems, like we have reached our second wave.
Yeah, and the article further says that the oxygen shortage has affected most public healthcare facilities, especially because of the pressure they are under, trying to keep the COVID-19 patients as safe and as healthy as possible. The country has seen almost 100 COVID-19 patients die in the last 2 weeks. Colin, that's a very, very scary statistic.
I don't think we've had that statistic at all, have we?
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest amount of deaths we've had in that space.
Yeah. So
it's terrible, man. It's scary as well, as you said, and it's a weird symbiosis that winter's here, and obviously people are suffering from, the cold already on its own, but now the fact that the COVID scare is coming up again, and I think what's even more scarier is the fact that Health Executive Director Ben Nangombe confirmed this. He said that the ministry has been experiencing a low supply of oxygen in the hospitals, and I think he has tried to engage other suppliers as well. I remember there was a quote in that very article we're talking about where he said there is an additional pressure on the oxygen generating systems, and this is due to the high demand because of the rising cases of what? COVID-19, which obviously means there are more patients that require mechanical ventilation, which then by virtue puts pressure on our health systems, and I guess by virtue puts pressure on the oxygen supplies of our health systems.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you said that Dr. Ben Nangombe says that they are looking for other oxygen suppliers, because one man who has been making waves even in the past for getting tenders to supply the Ministry of Health with oxygen ventilating system is a businessman or middleman. Knowledge Cut. He owns Intaka Technology Namibia, which has been supplying the oxygen to hospitals countrywide since 2011. Now, Tileni Mugudi and Shaligan Peterson reported on him. Despite the ministry procuring portable oxygen cylinders to assist patients, along with standing Intertech supplies, Nangombe said that the supply remains insufficient for increasing the number of patients. So I don't understand why. I don't know. Questions needs to be asked to these situations as to why didn't they learn already from the previous lockdown that they might find this engaging with him. So quite interesting one there.
Everything about this article just scares me, because when I read it, it further went on to say that Nangombe explained that Intaka Tech is unable to meet the new oxygen demand required for the COVID-19 patients. That already on its own is scary. He added that the gas generation systems that they previously used were put in place on the basis of specific specifications and needs, obviously, and at the time they were catering for theaters and a limited number of intensive care beds. Now they're catering for COVID-19 cases, so it makes me question also what happens to now the theaters and the limited number of intensive care beds that were catered for initially?
And I
understand.
When we were speaking in the newsroom, I think on Friday, going into the weekend, off the record, I don't know,
Of course.
going into the weekend, apparently we might see some patients dying, not from COVID, just because the oxygen supply is being taken to COVID and there's no oxygen for people to go into theater. And by virtue, I mean, obviously, if there's nothing, you might die. If I'm having appendicitis and I need to be operated and there's no oxygen to keep me on, but for the time I'm being operated, the alternative is my appendix will rupture,
Of course.
and I'll be pronounced dead.
This practically means that any other medical procedure is
Yeah.
now just, I don't want to say undermined, that's a very strong word to use, but it's not prioritized at this point anymore, you understand? So I think it's going to be a very difficult future for us unless we make a plan immediately, and a very concrete plan. You understand?
So we also understand that Mr. Mnangombe met African Oxygen Limited, Afrox, and Air Liquid. I said that why are they not looking for others? But we reported that we understand that Nangombe met African Oxygen Limited, Afrox, and Air Liquid Namibia, among others, to acquire additional oxygens countrywide. So what happened there?
I remember last year we had a similar situation where intensive care units were filled up to the brim. The health system was under pressure, obviously. So this isn't an entirely new situation that we're dealing with. You understand?
Why didn't they start already engaging this in the lockdown?
That's a very good question, but I think it's safe to say that the situation has gone from bad to worse in recent weeks, coinciding obviously with a spike of COVID-19 related deaths among patients at these state facilities. And I think at this point, all we can do, Enoke, is just hope for the best, man.
Yeah, man. So that's one of the stories that we reported on.
But in any case, I think unfortunately again there was another awful story this week. In another article written by our star journalist Elias Ndianale, where a 24-year-old man named Tara Shalyefu, we're gonna cut that out. Tara Shalyefu, where a 24-year-old man, Tara Shalyefu, collapsed and died during a football match last week Saturday. I've only heard of that once, happening in international football, but I've never heard of that happening on the local scene.
Speaking of Mark Vivian Foy.
Exactly, I'm speaking of him, exactly.
Okay.
Now, according to Shalfeu's uncle, he was on the pitch, he became unwell, he was taken out for first aid treatment, but he continued to play afterwards. So, do you think that he might have made his situation even more worse?
It's quite difficult to tell because, you were not there, but... when somebody, it speaks to the situation of our football in the country, the professionalization of football. Also, another story that we covered when Civics was given sponsorship by this betting company, Premier Sports Bet Trading. Hope I pronounced that correctly. The minister, Deputy Minister of Sports, Emma Kantemada, was speaking that the government is moving towards professionalizing football.
Right.
So I think if we go further, I think maybe we need to spearhead. We need to go forward. We need to fast track. It's not the first time we've had football. It's not the first time we've had the professionalization of football. Every year that comes, professional.
Yeah.
I hope this sad story will maybe push the agenda of professionalizing football as far as possible. It's really sad. I think if we had a professional setup, we had medics there, we could have seen the situation being managed properly. A medic will tell you that if you are unwell and you are diagnosed that no, let's take him out, this person needs to be taken to the hospital as soon as you get that, or even they can even do first aid, stabilize him at the field. But now we see these kinds of things. Very, very sad there. So
awful.
that is one of the stories that we covered there.
Yeah, and just to give more context on the story, apparently the young man only played for 8 minutes before, that was after he came back now. He only played for 8 minutes before he collapsed and then was stretched off the field. He was then rushed to the Engala District Hospital and he died on his way, man. Sadly so.
Yeah, sad, man.
So I do agree with you. I think if more emphasis is put on professionalizing football, putting more resources into football, just investing in football, in sports in general, I think situations like this could be avoided, or at the very least could decrease. Not that there's a problem in our country, but one situation is one too many.
Yeah, okay.
You understand? So what else has been happening?
The journalist of the year, Sonia Smith, of course, from where?
She is from the Namibian newspaper.
The newspaper that tells it like it is. So she's done it again. Peter Judy would say, she's done it again. She hit the front again.
Oh wow, it's glorious.
So she reported on the headline of this one goes as if 11 million tender won with fake bank guarantee.
That's ridiculous. I've never heard of that. I've never in my life heard of that.
A Namibian businessman and his Chinese partner allegedly used a fake bank guarantee to scoop 11.2 million Namibian dollar road contract at the Hobabis municipality. So these details are contained in a report compiled by the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development's Internal Audit Department. The investigation, headed by the ministry's deputy director Martin Gubai, zoomed in on the transaction from the 2012 to 2020 financial year.
Now,
that's what we're getting there, my brother.
This story keeps on getting interesting and more interesting as you read Sonia's article. It says apparently that they didn't only use fake bank guarantees, which was obviously submitted by the contractor, but the tender was also allegedly awarded in violation of tender procurement policies. And to make matters even worse, work was allegedly abandoned before completion. But this was obviously after the contractor had been paid more than half the contract amount. If you're wondering which company we're talking about Iwi Technical Civil Construction CC, and it's owned by local businessman Salomo Jarom and his Chinese business partner Gonwen Chi. I hope I pronounced that right as well.
Yeah.
The company was awarded a tender by the Hobabis municipality to upgrade the Rosena Street from gravel to tarred and interlocks. I think it's ridiculous how people never cease to amaze me in their tasks, or I think in their fight to always find a corrupt way. I mean, this was a project that was supposed to, help the town of Hobabis and develop it, I assume.
But here we are.
But here we are again talking about another corruption deal.
And recently, I think we just published another article about roads. The town that I'm from back home, Marondo. Very, very sad, man. Roads having potholes, and it's a result of these shady deals that we have. It's very, I don't understand. If it's not the way you procure the deal, it's the way the job is done. So I don't know what's gonna happen in our country. I don't know how long we need to be exposing these people that are in power. And I mean, how do you manage to get a fake bank guarantee, because there are banks involved, and then also in the tender board, how do you manage to pass all those processes?
I was gonna point on that as well.
Exactly.
But two things I want to point out. The first thing is either these guys are becoming extremely smart or smarter, or they are just watching YouTube videos that we've never searched for before, because this sounds movie-esque, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Secondly, I think that at each point of a tender deal, which has now become the norm in our country, there is an irregularity happening. At each point, whether it's the person that's submitting the application, whether it's the person receiving the application, whether it's the person just handling the paperwork, whatever, from every point there's some sort of irregularity, and that has unfortunately become a norm in our country. And I think that it's a sad thing.
It suggests a lot of things.
Of course.
It suggests a lot of things. How? Those questions that come up, how did you do? I mean, one can even envision, bribes, but we can't.
Because, but then, like you said, it suggests that there's something structurally, fundamentally, and systematically corrupt about the way we're handling our businesses in Namibia.
So that's an interesting one from the journalist of the year there.
It's ridiculous, but let's now go into a positive story, Enoke. I think the wave of awful and terrible and sad news is really getting to me. Our prized boxer, Our prized boxer, Jeremiah Nakathila, says he's ready for his fight in the USA against Shakur Stevenson. This is ahead of his WBO interim world title fight in Las Vegas on June 12th. Nakathila and his team actually left for the United States on today. They left today on Friday. And at a press conference organized by MTC, he said that he was raring to go. I'm just going to quote him from the article written by Helge Schutz. He says, and I quote, "We are ready and it's time for Namibia and Africa to shine. We had a great training camp, so we can't have better... I beg your pardon. So we can't have better preparation than this, and I'm ready to destroy Shakur Stevenson. I've got it all to do. So come the 12th, we are going to shine and Namibia will have a world champion again," he said. Quite confident, don't you think?
Quite confident, but the odds, unfortunately, man, the odds are against him, bro. Really, I've seen Shakur Stevenson fight. I've checked out his YouTube. Boy's good, man.
He's a marvel act.
He's
a marvel
very
act.
good. And he might be short, but so was Terence Crawford.
Of course.
Yeah, so... And Americans, we do know. I don't think the last time we beat an American, I think it was when Harry Simon was fighting. And those guys, I was speaking to, the other side of the fence, journalists from the other side of the fence, Limba Mutami. She told me that Americans are like, if you are a sports person, it's not just how do I put it? It's not just a hobby. It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle, of
Those
course.
guys train week in, week, day in, day out. They go to coffee, they come back. Maybe for 5 minutes, let's go train. You see them doing something, let's go train. It's a lifestyle. The whole
but
week.
let's not downplay Nakathila's confidence, right?
Yeah.
I think he's saying what he's saying because I think he's put in the work. I think he's been training for this. I think he's been strategizing. In as much as what I've seen recently, Namibian boxers rely on strength and power.
Yeah.
I think this time around we have a chance because it seems like Nakathila really, really prepared for this. So I think the strategy is in place.
Look,
to at the very least tire Stevenson out and hopefully knock him out.
Hopefully. But look, the odds, like I say, he's training. How long has he been training? Maybe he's been training for like 3 months.
Right.
And this guy, since last year, he was training. I don't know. I'm not trying to but these are the things that I'm just trying to put out there. Kucha, that the odds are really against him. And right now I'm talking on the basis of me wanting to eat my words. I hope I'll eat my words, but I can't ignore.
Well, I hope, Enoke, because I'm a patriot.
Yeah.
I really hope that Nakathila wins this for us, and that he brings the WBO title home, man.
Yeah.
Okay, we're running out of time, it seems. And in other sports news as well, again with positive news. I think if you go to the back pages, you'll smile more than what the front pages has to show you.
Yeah.
But in any case, Peter Shalulile, Namibia's shining star.
Yeah.
Arguably Namibia's best player.
Arguably Namibia's best
Arguably
player.
Namibia's
I would say
best
Namibia's
player.
best player to play abroad, but
Right?
I was talking to Boutros the other day. We were almost at it. He was telling me, what about Colin Benjamin? What about Chikuzo? So arguably.
Fair enough. Arguably is the
But
right
he's
word
doing
to
good.
use. He's doing very good. He actually reached another milestone on Wednesday night when he registered his first career 20-goal season. The boy's a marvel, man.
He's a marvel. And one thing about Peter Shalulile that I don't know if also defenders see it in South Africa or everybody that he faces. He doesn't look harmful, man. He looks innocent.
He looks extremely timid. He reminds me of now that you made now that you brought that point up, he reminds me of the way I look at Messi. Messi looks like a very shy, tiny, little, small, diminutive, very introverted type of player.
You can undermine him easily.
Exactly, but his football speaks for him
until he gets the ball.
And I think this is exactly the case with Shalulile. Shalulile looks extremely introverted as a person. He looks very shy. It doesn't feel like he does much on the pitch. But once exactly, he will hurt you. Once the ball touches his feet, it's just magic erupts, man. It's beautiful to see. He actually keeps on improving because he's now scored 1 goal more than he did last season.
Yeah.
When he finished joint top scorer in the South African Premiership. Unfortunately, he didn't finish top scorer this season, but I think his numbers are still quite amazing.
Yeah.
You know, and I understand that he might be nominated for
he is actually
a few
nominated.
awards.
He is actually nominated for the PSL Player of the Season award. So it's him and Tabiso Kutumela from Maritzburg, or I don't know if Tabiso, but his other name is Kutumela.
Okay.
And Themba Zwane. He is teammate from Sundowns.
He's up against a tough team tough players.
But he has an advantage because now we have him who came from another team. You know, in South Africa there's this thing that when you move from another team, it's hard for you to perform, but he's done it.
Of course.
And I was watching SuperSport. I was listening to Jabu Pule talking about it, saying it's very impressive that he comes from another team and he is able to come into a different environment and he just performs.
Exactly.
Even almost emulate and even better what he did last season.
He improved. He improved. I mean, he had a close to perfect season at Highland Park last season. But
and then the pressure increases.
Exactly. And he still manages to overcome the pressure and produce fantastic results. Well, I'm hoping that he wins.
Yeah, just a couple of more hours before.
Yeah,
let's hope that he wins.
I'm hoping that he really wins. I'm hoping that he'll make us even more proud because he's already made us proud. And I'm hoping that we'll get to see more from him. The moon and the stars and the sun and the galaxies, I guess at this point, are the only places and the only heights Shalulile hasn't reached.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's about it. Let's end on a positive note.
Yeah.
You know, thanks a lot for joining me, Enoke.
Thanks a lot for joining. Thanks for having me, John-Colin. So yeah, we hope you did enjoy the Context podcast. Not really that ding 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 ding. As you can see by virtue of hearing, we've just
tweaked it a bit,
just to give it more context.
Exactly. Perfect. All right, thanks a lot, man. Let's hope for more interesting, positive, groundbreaking stories next week, and trust we will keep you updated.
For me, Enoke,
and me, John-Colin,
it's
goodbye.
Bye-bye.